Good afternoon, class. This is Dr. David Montague, and it's a really nasty day outside, and trying to get these videos up so they'll hopefully help you with the class. This particular video is for Module 0 found within the capstone course, and I'm titling this one, What is this module about? So I'm going to apologize for reading. I've got my notes right here next to me, but uh, listen carefully to make sure that you understand what this module is and how to use it. This module is for those students taking capstone who did not, for whatever reason, already complete the course called CJ Policy, Criminal Justice Policy, during the fall semester. In essence, those students do not have the benefit of having already completed many of the parts the others in the class have done, which make the capstone course, quote, make more sense. Okay? So I'm providing this material as a sort of bridge for those who are essentially catching up so that they will have tools toward success in this capstone course. Since there are no books required for capstone, I am providing some useful books that I'm suggesting, at least names of books, that will help you in this module if they apply to you. So I'm going to tell you what they are verbally here, but you will see them listed within Module 0, and I do suggest accessing them in some way. Um, Again, I suggest you try to gain access to them, whether you buy them or you just borrow them from the library. A couple of them are pretty expensive, so if you can borrow them and just use them, that's I mean, that works for me. I do suggest you have something to refer to because the people that took CJ Policy did have books for that course. I'm not going to assign anything from these suggested books, but I believe that just if you see how they're organized and kind of read through for understanding, and you can probably do so just by kind of skimming, you know, um, that you really get a benefit of what I'm talking about with respect to public policy, specifically criminal justice public policy. And I think that using these books will help you quite a bit in terms of trying to catch up. And of course, I strongly suggest that in addition to using the material that's in Module 0, that you also reach out to me, and believe me, you're not going to be able to get a satisfactory answer by just sending me an email and saying, hey, I don't understand such and such. Can you explain what it means? Um, that's going to trigger a phone call. That's the only way I can really do policy answers real justice because I've tried to put things narratively as best I could, and I'm not perfect. You know, I do know a lot about public policy. As you already know, my PhD is actually in political science, and one of my areas is public policy. And having worked as an implementer and partial creator of public policy for many, many years, you know, I can give you lots of examples and I can give you narrative out the wazoo, but I do think that when it comes to questions in an accelerated course, it's best if we just talk very, very directly about what your understanding is and how to make sure you're on the right track. So, if you are having any confusion whatsoever, I really need you to email me with your phone number so that I can talk to you. If you're somewhere where you cannot talk on the phone, then I'll try to do the best I can to respond via email. But believe me, it's in your best interest if we talk, if at all possible, because that can really alleviate a lot of pressure that you might feel. Now, the books that I'm suggesting, one of them is called Criminal Justice Policymaking by Barbara Stoltz in its second edition. Yeah, this is a good book that gives you a direct connection to understanding public policy as it relates to criminal justice matters, whatever they might be. So it's a kind of good general book if you're trying to understand what public policy is in a criminal justice setting. You know, having to be a first responder, having to deal with critical incidents, dealing with competing jurisdictions, changes in laws, things that happen, and it makes kind of things blurry about what you can and can't do. And what does that mean for the public? What does it mean for the agencies responsible? Those types of things. So it's a pretty good book from dealing with those things. The other book is Policy Paradox, The Art of Political Decision Making. And that's a book by Deborah Stone. I really like this book. I read it years ago when I was in graduate school. And the reason that I suggest this book is because it's an easy read. It's a paperback, and it's not very expensive that I recall. The latest version, I think, is the third edition. I think came out in 2012. And what's interesting about this book is that it makes you think about how and why public policy is important. Meaning that, yes, there are laws and regulations that are out there, but what is it about these that really scares people, and excites people, So, and it makes you think in a different way about how logical is the policy process, and how logical are the things that we put out there that we say govern our daily lives. So it gets into things such as decision making by political leaders. It deals with there's a really good chapter called Numbers that basically lets you understand that, you know, when politicians are trying to get something passed into law, they can find numbers from anywhere, any direction to make their argument what they want it to be. Doesn't mean it's always accurate. So you always have to kind of understand that people will get the statistics, they'll get whatever they want to try to make their case, and you have to look beyond that. So it's not just the facts. You really need to understand what's the motivation of the person behind what they're doing. There's always a backstory, and so that's an important dimension because especially for people that are, I know some of you in this particular course are first responders at the state and local level, and as you know, there are different realities from county to county, from municipality to municipality, and sometimes it doesn't make sense as to why one county does things one way, and then you go to the very next adjacent county, and it seems to be totally different. That means that there is a backstory behind that. The cultural norms are different. There's lots of different factors. So you can't just simply say, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. You have to look at the situation there and try to understand what, why, how, all those different variables that play a role. And of course, you have to look at biases that people have too, because those historical biases, whatever they might be, do factor into what we choose to criminalize or not, or regulate or not. So that's a good book by Deborah Stone. The final book that I'm going to recommend is Public Policy Analysis by William Dunn, and I think it's in its fifth edition now. And that came out in 2012 as well. That's a complex book. It is definitely a graduate level book. I've used it for many years. Um, some people don't like it. I think it's actually a very good book because what it does is it really gives you the nuts and bolts of, of what public policy is all about. And more important than that, it actually gives you nuts and bolts about public policy evaluation. So it really helps you understand all these components that are in the policy guidelines that you have for this course that are required in the capstone. It even has a very complex set of appendices in the back that give you a lot of interesting information to help you. It's an expensive book. I recommend that if you can borrow it from a library or find somebody that's taken the course before, because I used it in the criminal justice policy course, that you borrow it from them and read it. That's something that it's a good reference to have, for dealing with this material. Um, the other thing that I like about this book is it really shows you the power of understanding public policy, and you can apply it in any direction, including criminal justice. But it could be health, it could be, whatever it might be, housing policy, health policy, science, anything, business. But it's great because it shows you that people that do this process that you're doing this semester can use this process of evaluating a law or regulation in many different directions, and they're really professionals. They're just almost like surgeons because you're using certain tools to do different types of evaluations. So, for instance, one of the sections in the book deals with what's called forecast analysis, and that's where you're predicting the needs in certain areas for policymakers, so that they can think about how to structure or restructure laws and regulations to fit the needs of the public. So you might do a forecast analysis on terrorism, or you might do a forecast analysis on security or safety in public malls, or transportation security, whatever it might be. And so it's a very important book because it does give you a set of tools that can be used in many ways. It's a complex book, like I said, but I think if you just kind of look at the big picture, what is this really getting at? Then you really tend to be able to absorb why this book is so important to use. All right, so those are the 3 books that I'm recommending for this course for people that have not taken criminal justice policy and are taking Capstone now. There's a lot of material in Module 0. You'll see me in the Capstone course refer to what people did in the previous course as milestones 1 through 4. I have copied material from those milestones and placed them in Module 0 for you. Again, I'm not grading you on any of those. I need you to just look at them so that you can be up to speed. If anything that you need to do right away to catch up with everybody else is look through all this material within Module 0, make sure that you are thinking carefully and find either a law or a regulation that you can actually find the language of it. It's something publicly available, meaning it's nothing that I can't see or that somebody else can't see. It's something public, and that something that you can evaluate, meaning that it's something that's been in existence for a while, and you can go back and look at how effective it is. That's what the Capstone Project's all about. It's all about finding something that you can evaluate to see how effective or not it has been. This course is not the opportunity to just find a topic you're passionate about and say what law or regulation we need to have on the books. That's not what this course is about. Okay? This course is about finding something that's already out there, being able to evaluate it thoroughly, and to demonstrate how or how not it has been effective. But you have to provide it using the format that I provide within this particular course as the guidelines. All right? If you have any questions, you need to reach out to me, and please give me your phone number. And I look forward to working with you in the course. Thank you. Bye-bye.